Kevin here with a late update. Also, quick heads up, any minute now, Vice President Joe Biden will be speaking. I will be streaming that here, so no need to go anywhere. We will watch that together. Let's get into this update first while we wait. The former CDC director from 2009 to 2017, which FYI, that was the Obama administration and the Vice President Joe Biden administration. So their CDC director just called for an Irish-style lockdown immediately in the United States for the next 6 weeks. I'm going to break this down exactly and what this means, but first, here's a little bit of background on what he says. And of course, you can still get life insurance super inexpensively in as little as 5 minutes without talking to anyone, and there's even a link down below so you can Apple Pay or Android Pay for it. And of course, get 3 totally free stocks with Webull via the link down below if you deposit just $100 with Webull. All right, so Dr. Tom Frieden, he's the former CDC director between 2009 and 17. Remember, that's under Obama and that's under Biden. He says our country is divided and our government is divided, but we need to stop this pandemic. We have cases doubling and tripling in many communities, and we're seeing exponential growth. Earlier, I posted a video of former FDA Commissioner Dr. Gottlieb calling for stringent measures immediately, but saying, look, we're just not doing that right now. And Dr. Tom Frieden says every day of delay costs lives. The current positivity rate in the country has gone from 7.2% to 8.2% across all age groups, and hospitalizations are up 14%, and deaths are expected to follow as hospitals get inundated and we have to begin rationing. And I do see right now that Biden is arriving, so we're going to switch to that in just a moment. Tom Frieden also reminds us that cases only represent about 1/5 of all infections, and that will likely have right now around 400,000 cases per day just in the community, and only around 120,000 of those are showing up in testing. So he goes on to say this, and just quote for word, like word for word here. He says, quote, "We need to shut down. We can do this sensibly. Keep schools, childcare, universities, shopping, barbershops, and other areas open only with rigorous safety modifications, reduce travel, and reduce indoor gatherings. A great example, he says, is the Irish method, which we'll look at in a moment. Dr. Tom Frieden goes on to say that rates are vastly higher amongst minorities for getting COVID and dying from COVID, and really this pandemic is hurting the people who are most vulnerable right now. This echoes what we hear the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell say regularly. He also mentions that, look, COVID fatigue is really, serious. Like everybody's feeling it. Everybody's over this freaking pandemic. So we need to minimize he says, we need to minimize the disruption to holiday shopping, jobs, and education. And to have happier holidays at the end of the year, he says, we must be safer for the next 6 weeks. Okay, let's pull up the Irish method. We've got probably about 2 minutes before Biden's going to be up and talking. So let's go ahead and pull up the Irish method really quickly. So we're probably going to be, if we have a lockdown like this, which keep in mind, this is the CDC director who was serving Joe Biden and Obama. And these are the Irish lockdown levels. I would assume to have some form of lockdown, we'd probably be between level 4 and 5. So let's take a look at this. Social gatherings, literally nothing. In level 4 and 5, you get no visitors. Weddings, a maximum of 6 people. You better be better off Zooming your wedding. Indoor events, nothing. No organized indoor events. This is the Irish method that the former CDC director under Obama and Biden is recommending. Gatherings outdoors up to 15. So Trump rallies would not count. Sports training. You would have 1 individual only. I believe this is in a house. So like if you're doing personal training, 1 person indoors, and then outdoors, you could have groups of 15 that if 1 person gets sick, the entire pod goes into quarantine. Matches and events, basically no events or maybe some specific circumstances. I'm assuming if they have like a bubble going on, like what we see here with the NBA and some other sports teams. Gyms, pools, and leisure centers closed. Religious services. Get this, religious services, y'all, move online. Ooh, ouch, that's rough. That's rough because that hits home for a lot of us. Funerals, 25 on level 4, 25 people on level 4, and 10 people on level 5. So definitely more people available there. Bars serving food. So if food is being served outdoor only and takeaway. Wet pubs, which wet pubs are for drinking only, not for food. You could have in the most stringent level takeaway or delivery only or outdoor only with a maximum of 15 people. There is no restaurant that is operating with 15 people. Now, I don't know if they mean like 15 people per table. That's a pretty big table. So I don't think they mean that. I think they literally mean 15 people outside. That's like nothing. Like maybe in Ireland, you got 3 tables outside at some of these restaurants. But I'll tell you, that's very low. And we're going to switch to Biden in just a moment. I promise. In fact, well, I don't want to switch it because then we'll get to the audio. Actually, we shouldn't. Just so you know, I do have it ready to pop up. And I was having some audio issues with CNN, so that's why I picked Fox. Not that I would have otherwise picked CNN. I just try to be neutral, okay? This one's the one that wasn't having problems. Anyway, hotels, guest houses, B&Bs, bed and breakfasts, basically essential purposes only or existing guests. Everybody else gets kicked out. This is recommended by the CDC director who was under Obama Biden. I'm telling you, folks, this is why I didn't buy a single stock this week. I'm freaking out about when the market is going to wake up and go, oh, crap, we got COVID coming. Worse than what we had. Okay, retail services, primarily outdoor, essential only, venues closed for cultural events, workplace, essential workers only, travel, stay at home is the most stringent or stay in your country. So kind of limiting your travel, avoiding public transportation, schools and childcare open with protective measures. There are some studies that say there's little spread in schools, and then there are other studies that say there's a lot of spread in schools. I mean, I kind of like to think that kids are probably more slobbery than adults are, but hey, maybe there's something on the immunology side. Anyway, adult and higher education, move online, site attendance only when essential. Visiting suspended for care homes. So basically, if you're live in the Sopranos, you're gonna be pissed because you're gonna be all alone. Over 70s and medically vulnerable, exercise judgment regarding engaging with others and activities. If you are vulnerable, by the way, consider buying yourself a respirator. Right? I'm not saying everybody should walk around with a respirator on, like I get it. But if you're vulnerable, you put a P100 on, that stuff's like, I mean, in my opinion, I'm no expert here. I'm just some dude on YouTube who shaved my head for my YouTube audience and who got a jacket to kind of go with it. What do y'all think? Is that all right? Anyway, we're going to pull up Biden here, and we're going to stand by for Biden. So let's go ahead and switch on over to that. Let's get this up and going here. We will we'll obviously play this audio in just a moment. But I do want to say, while we wait for Biden to come up here and speak, folks, I'm nervous about stocks. We've had this insane rally this week, but I do think you have a lot of hedge fund managers who are like, oh, looks like the stock market only cared about the fact that, the election might have been uncertain, but now we have answers for the election, so no problem. Well, instead, I think we've got this big blind spot of the pandemic. So let's see if we have any questions. Feel free to ask questions as well. And I know there are a lot of folks wondering, like, Kevin, why not just sell everything? And then you've got audio issues. What are the audio issues? Is there an audio issue? Hello? Mic is bad? Digital. When did it go bad? Was it bad the whole time? Was the audio bad the whole time? Let me know. I'm sorry about that. We're waiting for Biden. I hope. Was it just temporarily bad? Is it better now? It's popping. Really? Lots of popping noise. Was it just when I switched? No audio issues. Okay, I got a lot of people saying audio's fine, and some people saying popping sounds. Maybe I'm screaming too much, so I'm sorry about that. But okay, so I'll talk a little more quietly then. How about that? Audio now. Better now. Okay. Okay, so, here he is. Let's go.
We don't have a final declaration of victory yet, but the numbers tell us it's clear. Tell us a clear and convincing story. We're going to win this race. Just look at what has happened since yesterday. 24 hours, we were behind in Georgia. Now we're ahead, and we're going to win that state. 24 hours ago, we were behind in Pennsylvania, and we are going to win Pennsylvania. And now we're ahead, but we're winning in Arizona. We're in Nevada. And in fact, our lead just doubled in Nevada. We're on track to over 300 electoral college votes. And look at the national numbers. We're going to win this race with a clear majority of the nation behind us. We've gotten over 74 million votes. Let me repeat that, 74 million votes. That's more than any presidential ticket has ever gotten in the history of the United States of America. And our vote total is still growing. We're beating Donald Trump by over 4 million votes. And that's a margin that's still growing as well. One of the things I'm especially proud of is how well we've done across America. And we're going to be the first Democrat to win in Arizona in 24 years. We're going to be the first Democrat to win Georgia in 28 years. And we've rebuilt the blue wall in the middle of the country that crumbled just 4 years ago. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the heartland of this nation. I know watching these vote tallies on TV moves very slow, and as slow as it goes, it can be numbing. But never forget, the tallies aren't just numbers. They represent votes and voters, men and women who exercise their fundamental right to have their voice heard. And what's becoming clear each hour is that record number of Americans of all races, faiths, religions chose change over more of the same. They've given us a mandate for action on COVID, the economy, climate change, systemic racism. They made it clear they want the country to come together, not continue to pull apart. The people spoke, more than 74 million Americans, and they spoke loudly for our ticket. But while we're waiting for the final results, I want people to know we're not waiting to get the work done and start the process. Yesterday, Senator Harris and I held meetings with groups of experts on public health and the economic crisis this country is facing. The pandemic, as you also know, is getting more worrisome all across the country. Daily cases are skyrocketing, and it's now believed that we could see as many as 200,000 cases in a single day. The death toll is approaching 240,000 lives lost to this virus. That's 240,000 empty chairs, kitchen tables, and dining room tables all across America. We'll never be able to measure all that pain and the loss, the suffering that so many families have experienced. We know something about what it feels like to lose someone. And I want them to know they're not alone. Our hearts break with you. I want everyone to know on day one, we're going to put our plan to control this virus into action. We can't save any of the lives lost, any of those have been lost, but we can save a lot of lives in the months ahead. Senator Harris and I also heard yesterday about how this recovery is slowing because of the failure to get the pandemic under control. More than 20 million people are on unemployment. Millions are worried about making rent and putting food on the table. Our economic plan will put a focus on a path to a strong recovery. Look, we both know tensions are high. They can be high after a tough election, one like we've had. But we need to remember, we have to remain calm, patient. Let the process work out as we count all the votes. You know, we're proving again what we've proved for 244 years in this country. Democracy works. Your vote will be counted. I don't care how hard people try to stop it. I will not let it happen. The people will be heard. Our journey is toward a more perfect union, and it keeps moving on. In America, we hold strong views. We have strong disagreements, and that's okay. Strong disagreements are inevitable in a democracy, and strong disagreements are healthy. They're a sign of a vigorous debate, of deeply held views. But we have to remember, the purpose of our politics isn't total, unrelenting, unending warfare. No, the purpose of our politics, the work of the nation, isn't to fan the flames of conflict, but to solve problems, to guarantee justice, to give everybody a fair shot, to improve the lives of our people. We may be opponents, but we're not enemies. We're Americans. No matter who you voted for, I'm certain of one thing. The vast majority of almost 150 million Americans who voted, they want to get the vitriol out of our politics. We're certainly not going to agree on a lot of issues, but at least we can agree to be civil with one another. We have to put the anger and the demonization behind us. It's time for us to come together as a nation to heal. It's not going to be easy. We have to try. My responsibility as president will be to represent the whole nation. And I want you to know that I'll work as hard for those who voted against me as those who voted for me. That's the job. That's the job. It's called the duty of care for all Americans. We have serious problems to deal with, from COVID to the economy to racial justice and climate change. We don't have any more time to waste on partisan warfare. You know, and more than that, we have such an incredible opportunity to build the future we want for our kids and our grandkids. I've said many, many times, I've never been more optimistic about the future of this nation. There is no reason we can't own the 21st century. We just need to remember who we are. This is the United States of America. There's never been anything we've been unable to do, unable to accomplish when we've done it together. I hope to be talking to you tomorrow. I want to thank you all, and may God bless you, and may God protect our troops. Good night.
Joining me now is Candace Owens, Brexit movement.
Okay, so let's review what was just said and talk about that. Sorry if there were any volume issues. I tried my best. Okay, here we go. Let's review that really quickly. So Joe Biden just talked about a mandate. He talked about having 3 mandates: COVID, climate, and racism. This is very interesting because we also heard Mitch McConnell with Republicans talk about a mandate today. The mandate that Mitch McConnell talked about was passing a reduced stimulus package. That was the mandate that Mitch McConnell believes he heard. So in other words, Mitch McConnell thinks, oh, we got voted to maintain the Senate, therefore the people must want a smaller, more targeted stimulus package. Whereas we have Nancy Pelosi suggesting we have a mandate. We have potentially now Joe Biden, and we have control of the House, and maybe we'll even get control of the Senate. We have a mandate to do a larger package. So we're literally in the same place where Mitch McConnell wants a small package and Nancy Pelosi and Democrats want a large package. It's an entire mess when it comes to stimulus. And it's a disaster because it's leaving all of the people suffering. Think about what is coming up in terms of fiscal cliffs. And we're going to talk more about what Biden just said, but this is very important. Look at the fiscal cliffs we have. I'm going to pull them up. I have them right here on the iPad. Look at this. These are the fiscal cliffs we have. We added these right here. A bunch of CARES Act programs expire. The municipal credit facility expires. The corporate credit facility expires. The Main Street lending program expires December 31st. Then we have unemployment pay for self-employed workers, the CDC's eviction moratorium, and student loan deferrals. All of these things are coming to a head during the end of Trump's term. On top of that, we now have this election, and we're thinking, oh yeah, the election will give us some clarity on whether or not we're going to have a stimulus package. No, we just got literally the polar opposites solidified. Now, this dysfunctional Congress thinks, oh, the people like us, they want more, or oh, the people like us, they want us to do less. I don't get it. But going back to Biden, so Biden talks about the mandate of COVID. He talks about not waiting. He talks about already meeting with public health experts, how we're probably going to head towards 120,000 cases per day. Folks, we started this live stream off by talking about the danger of what could potentially happen in the stock market in the event we actually get to this exponential COVID growth, and all of a sudden the market gets its head out of its butt, basically, and realizes, oh crap, we're still in a pandemic. Yeah, the election's over, but the real catalyst here is the pandemic. That's what shuts the economy down. That's what makes people jobless. And remember what Jerome Powell says, and the other Federal Reserve Board members. This is a recessionary spiral that happens when you're in a pandemic. What happens is one person loses a job, they have less money, they don't get support from Congress. What happens? They save money, they can't spend more than the workplace they worked at. They're not getting as many customers anymore, so they lay off more people. And what happens when people are stuck at home, not able to work? Their skills atrophy, aka get worse. It's kind of like when you don't go to the gym in a year, your muscle atrophies, goes away, aka, and all of a sudden you're left with a worse economy. And when we talk about economy, we measure our economy in GDP. When the GDP goes down, it makes our market look more expensive for investing. And overall, it means we're progressing slower as a country. That is bad. London and the United Kingdom were expected to have growth of over 2.5% in this fourth quarter. Fourth quarter would be December, November, and October. They were expected to have 2.5% growth. And guess what? The Goldman Sachs and institutional investors have downgraded the United Kingdom from 2.5% growth in this next quarter, this is the fourth quarter here, down to negative 2.5%, aka contracting again because they're going into lockdowns. Guess what happened in Australia? In Australia, they go, hey guys, it's only going to be a 60-day lockdown. Don't worry. We're just going to lock down for 60 days and we'll get this done. And they stay locked down for 111 days. That's how long it took them to actually crush this virus. So Joe Biden goes on to talk about the recovery slowing. He's not wrong about that. And this isn't me taking sides. He's right. The recovery pace is slowing. Yes, the unemployment rate looks like it's falling, but we're still getting 1 million people every single week applying for unemployment. Every single week, 1 million people are requesting unemployment. That's like, I live in a city of 100,000 people. That's literally everyone in my city filing for unemployment 10 times over every single month. It's insane. So, I mean, there's no question the recovery is slowing down. I'm glad that he brought up making rent. That is so crucial. He did not have a very long speech. He's been very short and selective with his words. But one of the things he made sure to say was making rent. Because folks, if we do not get rental relief, I believe we will see a V-shaped real estate sort of micro crash at the beginning of next year. What I mean by that is we might see a flood of evictions between January and March, where basically you've got, the market basically was doing this before COVID. COVID happened and we're like, nope, just kidding, going up. The market's been nuts in real estate. It wouldn't surprise me if we go into 2021 over here, we start getting evictions happening. We get this sort of temporary V and we slowly work our way out of that again. That could be an opportunity to go buying if you're able to buy real estate. But if you're in a situation where you're waiting for rental relief, you could be a victim of basically getting evicted in this V of people selling their real estate. I've got a whole real estate playlist where I go into this in detail, right next to the Viking shield, of course. But anyway, I'm glad he mentioned making rent because it shows that rent relief is a priority for Joe Biden's administration. This is very important because we are, as a nation, at least $21 billion behind on rent payments right now. And there are various estimates of this. Some say it's a little less, some say it's a little bit more, some say by January it's going to be even worse. And the reality is, if come January, we're behind $25 billion in rent, and we don't have a rental relief package, we're going to see a V-shaped crash in real estate. It'll be smaller. I don't think it's going to be like a foreclosure crisis. It's not going to be like a 2008, but there's going to be a substantial pullback. There will be a softening. And so the making rent argument is such a huge priority because it means that potentially, if it is declared that Biden is the president, he could even say, as soon as December 31st rolls around, Joe Biden could say, do not evict anybody. Just wait until January 21st. And I will pay everybody's rent. In theory, I'm totally theorizing here, right? But he could say that. And simply saying that, and depending on what happens in Georgia with the Senate election, could be very powerful. Pay attention to the Georgia Senate. If you are in Georgia, we have this double revote, basically, on January 5th for both senators. There is a chance that Democrats could control the Senate. And if Democrats control the Senate, Democrats have the gamut. They've got everything. And that could actually be that'll be good for stimulus, but it could be very bad for the stock market in the short term. Because if Democrats sweep all of the gains we saw this week, I wouldn't be surprised if we see those go away. On top of the fact that at the end of the year, we could be at a worse situation in terms of COVID. I think about the fact that I see the mic check. I don't think there's much for me to check. I didn't hear anything, so maybe there's something in like the feed or something. So hopefully it's not too bad because it sounds crystal clear to me. But anyway. Yeah, anyway, so on making rent, so important. As long as whoever's the president, we can get some rental relief going. I think that is crucial to helping our society out. Joe Biden talks about a path to a strong recovery. This is something that obviously both Donald Trump and Biden talk about. One issue that we do have, slight popping, it's probably just because I'm loud. I just lowered myself a tiny notch. Both of them talk about the path to the strong recovery, but the reality is, who was it? Stephen Moore, who is an associate of Donald Trump. He's not an official advisor, but he's an advisor to Donald Trump. He came out and said, hey, Donald Trump, if Donald Trump loses, he might not want to be the president who basically says, all right, here's a $2 trillion stimulus package, and then walk out of the White House, aka here's $2 trillion worth of debt, and then walking out of the White House. Stephen Moore thinks Donald Trump might not want to be that guy, and he might just say, wait for Joe, which all that means is people are going to have to wait until like the beginning of February, because Joe won't be in power until the, we're not even going to know about the Senate race until probably, January 5th, 6th, or 7th. And then Joe Biden won't be in power until the 21st. So we've got some massive issues, and then, there were some comments while Joe Biden was talking. I was watching about Project Veritas. I'm just going to be transparent here. I've watched a lot of these videos. I watched the stuff on both sides. I watched the talking heads, like the Tucker Carlsons, the Anderson Coopers. I watched their monologues just to see what because I think these are generally you get the very right and you get the very left, right? And I try to look at a lot of these. And I have to say about Project Veritas, all I want to say is when you see some of these clips, there's a magic to editing. And sometimes I wonder when I see like, oh, I'm going to get you a stack of ballots or whatever. Was that like a stack of ballot applications? Sometimes I feel like we have to be a little bit skeptical. And I only say that, I don't want to bag on Project Veritas, but look at the fact checks for Project Veritas. There have been some questionable past instances. Now, that doesn't mean that right now they're wrong. They could be entirely wrong with some of the things they're coming out with. But just Google that. Google Project Veritas fact check. And decide for yourself. Look at your own sources. But it's something that's worth doing. I highly recommend that. So we've touched on the mandate. We touched on the really not waiting, folks. That's actually, to me, another key in terms of what we just talked about regarding the former CDC director. Think about this. President Obama selected Tom Friedman, the former CDC director. Under President Obama, Tom Friedman, well, he controlled the CDC. And now that same person is saying, folks, we need to lock down. Where do you think Biden, in my opinion, where do you think Biden is going to go find cabinet members? I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to his 8 years in office and says, who was great in office? And so it wouldn't be a surprise. Who knows? Maybe this Tom Friedman is looking for a cabinet job again. It could be like his application. Like, this is what I recommend. Look at my thesis. Hope this goes viral. And lots of people talk about it. So Joe Biden calls me. And if Joe Biden calls Tom Friedman, we might have lockdowns again. Thank you so much, Dana, for the $2.99. But Biden voted and demanded we go to war with Iran. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stick to just the commentary on this. I do appreciate the $2.99. But yeah, folks, a lot of good things to unpackage here in terms of, information, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. It's good to see what's going on, especially if there is the possibility that Biden will be president. Right now, let's do this really quick. Let's pull up if you have not done this yet, and look, I understand like 50% of you are going to hate this. Use a different website if you want. But I have to say, the New York Times website has a pretty good a feature here on being able to see what the poll counts are. We're going to go ahead and pull up the full Nevada poll counts here. And we could see the latest count, which just came in, shows about a 23,000 vote split. There we go, 22,657 in a split. And right now, and this is from the last dump that we just had not too long ago, just a couple hours ago. Then what else do we have here? I want to see the Senate race. We know that in Georgia, see, David Perdue needed to be he needed to be at 50% or above, and now he's at 49.8%. So that's going to go into another runoff election. They're going to go into another runoff election. This is really close. Look at that. Raphael is leading as a Democrat. 32.9 to 26%. This is the race you got to pay attention to. And the other race is neck and neck. So it is still entirely possible that we will see an entire Democrat-controlled 2 years under Biden. So I really think the stock market is rallying prematurely. North Carolina, Trump's still got a good lead there. In Georgia, look how close we are in Georgia. My gosh, 4,395 vote difference in Georgia. Absolutely surreal how close we are in Georgia. Let's look at, and I know Pennsylvania has been having a lot of issues. Supreme Court also just made a ruling over here. Let's see here regarding segregating ballots. So if ballots were delivered or submitted after 8 p.m., those are now to be segregated, which other courts have ruled as well. So I think the Supreme Court was really just upholding here. But Biden really pulled ahead with about 28,833 votes here. I remember on election night, it started, you all probably remember this too, it started with Biden in the lead. Then Trump just blew past him. And then it slowly trickled away again. It's been very, very, very interesting how this transformation that we've seen. So Nevada lead doubles. Biden also had, yeah. All right. So yeah, and then okay. Thomas Kaplan here says Biden did not get to deliver a victory seat. Yeah, it's quite possible that they anticipated on doing some sort of victory speech today, but it does look like it's probably too premature to do that. And I don't like to buy. I see the stocks up, buy. I like buying when stocks are down. I went shopping a lot with, that if you're in my course, a lot of you are course members, that every morning we talk about whether I'm buying or not. And last week we did a lot of shopping because it was pretty red last week. Put a lot of money into the market last week. But when it's euphoric like this, be careful. Look, if you're just getting into stocks or you're new with stocks, I just want you to internalize this one thing and then we're going to end it. So one thing, every one of y'all should consider this. When you see the stock market is green, be happy for your portfolio, but with your new money, realize if you put the new money on green, you're putting your money on more risk. If you see red, you can be sad for your portfolio, but for the new money, the new cash you have, you look at that red and you say, that's safer. And it's ironic. You have to separate that mentality. Put the money on red. Always put money on red in stocks. My POV. Obviously, pick the stocks that are going to go bankrupt as well. Okay, folks, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it streaming this with you. If you liked it, leave me a comment down below once this post. Hit the like button. Let me know if you want me to do more of these live streams. Thank you so much for being here, folks. We will see you next time.